So, what's up with Celestia and Luna? I offered my take on this subject a few months back, adding my 2 cents to a whole gamut of opposing and overlapping theories concerning the Diarchs and their origin. However, there is one common thread that the majority of fandom seems to posit concerning these two, that unlike Twilight and Cadence, who ascended to an alicorn state, Celestia and Luna were born alicorns, thus being different in status than the former duo. Despite its near universality though, I've made it pretty clear that this is something I really do not want to see, even though it's the simplest explanation as to how Twilight and Cadence can be alicorns while presumably not being immortal, while Luna and Celestia presumably are. So why am I going so far to my way to figure out how the two could have ascended like Twi and Cadence? If I wanted to be dramatic, I'd say because this concept ruins the lore of the series, but I don't, so I'll just say that it weakens one of the plot points that are now integral to this series. But before I go over that, I think it's important to figure out just exactly why this notion is so prevalent in the first place. I think it boils down to 2 main concepts. Number 1, the way the duo was presented in the season 1 opener. The show paints a very clear picture of showing Celestia and Luna as timeless figures that have always been the way that they are, their initial presentation in the show being very close to how one would envision a god of a Greek pantheon. And number 2, Lauren admitting that they were born alicorns. A far more damning fact, as who in the Bronyhood would want to challenge the almighty Fausticorn concerning her own creation? Let's break this down for a second. We need to understand that Lauren does not control the lore of this series anymore. She left the show, and thus, any concepts she may have had concerning these characters that didn't make it into the show itself before she departed are not canon unless stated in the source material itself. For example, Lauren stated in a Q&A session that Trixie went to Celestia's academy, and while I love this idea, until it's mentioned in the show, it's just Lauren's headcanon, which at this point is just as relevant to the actual canon of the series as my theories are, which is to say, not relevant at all. In addition, the show is already confirmed to have gone in a different direction than where Lauren intended. Lauren stated that Celestia and Luna were supposed to be the only 2 alicorns in Equestria, unique in their position. This was a concept I really loved and is still my favorite interpretation of them, as I feel it best suits their archetype, but obviously this is no longer canon as we have Cadence and Alicorn Twilight. But there's an even bigger reason, a reason intrinsic to the lore of the show itself. Making Celestia and Luna born alicorns now would remove all thematic weight behind Twilight and Cadence's ascension. The reason that Alicorn Twilight worked in the context of the lore in Magical Mystery Cure, yes, we're gonna talk about this again, is because the weight of her combined actions over the course of all 3 seasons caused her not just to ascend to an alicorn state, but by doing so, becoming Celestia's equal. Celestia says that Twilight is no longer her student, and therefore on the same playing field as her at this point. They're equal in status, if not wisdom. This gave the transformation narrative and thematic purpose, student becoming master and all that jazz. This theme is reinforced by Cadence's supposed ascension in a Crystal Heart spell, because by identifying that another one of the characters became an alicorn in the same way as Twilight did, it shows that Twi wasn't just an isolated case, that alicorns are in fact created, and this illusion in that book also justifies Cadence's existence and why she is also a princess like Celestia and Luna. They have all gone through the same transformation after completing some grand task. If Celestia and Luna are born alicorns as so many are positing, and that this somehow makes them more powerful than alicorns that are created, then this means that Celestia and Luna's alicorn status has never been and will never be a level that Twilight, and consequently Cadence, can ever reach, as they can't change how they were born. So by extension, the whole thematic purpose of these 2 characters gaining wings or a horn is completely meaningless, as the wings and horn could just be as easily represented literally with a medal, a crown, or anything. At this point, the tangible representation of their status is meaningless. It's only the theme that matters, the accomplishment the character achieved. But if this is the case, then the fact that they were given an alicorn status and not something else devolves right back to the argument I put forth concerning Cadence's alicorn status in Anthony C. and mine's Candlelight Wedding video, that Hasbro just wanted to put pretty wings on their characters to sell more dolls. The only reason the wings worked beyond that was because they represented equality between student and teacher, progress from season 1 to season 3. Take that away, and all you're left with is toy bait. Thanks for sticking around. If you like what you saw, feel free to give that thumbs up button some love, and if this is your first time here, I release new videos every week about cartoons, MLP, and technology. So if you're interested in any or all of those things, I'd love to have you subscribe. Also, I'm all over the internet besides YouTube, so feel free to follow me there as well. Links are in the description below. Until next time, I'm Tommy Oliver, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.